Hey guys, Justin here at JHart Modelworks. So I have been talking about this one for quite a while now. It is finally time. We are starting the buddy build with Mike Hintz from Mike's Miniature Motors. Mike and I are going to be building the Alpha models, Ferrari Monza SP2s. This looks like it's going to be an awesome kit. I have never built an Alpha Models kit before, so this is going to be a new experience. And this is a beautiful car. Honestly, this is of Ferrari's current cars. They're recent, probably within the last 10 years. This has to be, in my opinion, the most beautiful car that they have released. The body is simple, it is elegant, it doesn't have a whole bunch of flaps and active arrow and gizmos and gimmicks. It's just a sleek, beautiful design. Now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with flaps and whatnot. I love me some Lamborghinis. But for Ferrari, this design is just absolutely beautiful in my opinion. So let's go ahead and get that camera flipped around. Let's take a look at what all is in this box. Alright guys, here's our box. So you may or may not know, the guys who do the Alpha model kits are the same guys who run Hobby Design. These are old school cast resin kits. These are not 3D printed. And if you have ever used a Hobby Design detail up set, you know that these guys are like the name in cast resin. Like, their stuff is absolutely fantastic. Opening this box up, we get a nice card there. Get a sheet of bubble wrap that separates off our suggestions. I call them suggestions because, as instructions go, Hobby Design and Alpha Models have always been kind of struggling. Let's start with this side because this is a very important page. They give you a page that shows literally everything that should be in your kit. So when you get your kit, you really should go through it and make sure that everything is there. My understanding is that replacement parts may or may not be available. These are always like very limited run kits. So you always want to make sure that you've got everything that should be in your kit. You then have, so this is all the resin, and then this is all photo etch, and then you have several different decal sheets and some extra stuff in there as well. Then here is kind of your instructions, which are, there's not that much there. When you see how much stuff is actually in this kit, those seem kind of sparse. We have tons of resin. We're going to start with the important part. The part that we're all really here for is this body. Absolutely gorgeous. Panel lines are a little kind of shallow through here. I did see a little bit of flash in here. I just kind of brushed it with a hobby knife. I didn't even really try to cut anything. I just kind of bumped it and it all just kind of came off. I do want to take a look at the car because I am not certain if this is flash or if this is trim that is bolted onto the actual car's body. So I want to check that out before I go in there and start sanding away at this. Now, something I will point out is this really, really deep looking panel line. This is not a panel line. This is actually gloss black trim on the one-to-one car. So there's a YouTube channel called NYC Ammo. He does like super high-end detailing on one-to-one cars, Koenigsegg's, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. Like, this guy's skill set is something I would never afford in my life. But he did a detailing video on the SP2, and that is all gloss black trim, that whole little section right there. Not this panel, but what actually looks like a panel line. So when I paint this, that's going to get some black in there before I do my clear coat, so that I can kind of try and replicate that gloss black. Now the panel lines, because of the color choices that I'm using, I am going to be going with a white. And when I do white, I don't tend to use black panel liner. It is just too sharp of a contrast. So what I will actually end up using is Tamiya's dark gray panel liner, which is going to give me still a really nice panel line, but it'll be a little milder. Now, I am slightly concerned because there are some very deep recesses in there where you need to install some clear resin parts. We're going to see how well that goes when we get there. But all in all, this is really, really clean. Now, this is all old school cast resin, like I said. So what we will need to do, because you can see it from time to time, you'll see just a different kind of tone to it. Old school resin still uses mold release. So you need to scrub all of the resin parts with soap and warm water to get all of that off. I know that's not really a thing with plastic model kits anymore, but it is still a thing with this old school resin because they've got those silicone molds and they need that mold release so they can pull the mold off. We have our chassis plate. There are some screws that screw this up into the body itself. You can see through there. That gets screwed down. We have the base of our interior tub in here as well. That all looks absolutely gorgeous. All right, next in the box we have wheels and tires. Now these are all the same size. I know because I measured them with my calipers. Those are absolutely beautiful. But we will not actually be using these wheels. So these are the correct original wheels that Ferrari designed for the car, and I am not in love with this wheel design. The tires are very nice. They're nice squishy rubber. Or vinyl maybe, but I think they're rubber. They feel like rubber. Vinyl is usually a little bit stiffer. There's a one-to-one wheel manufacturer out there who makes a special wheel specifically for this car. That manufacturer is Vossen Wheels. They make absolutely gorgeous wheels. There are several designs that I absolutely love. Wish I could afford them. They are expensive. But Vossen, like I said, made a special wheel for this car. It was called the NF9. Now, a creator by the name of Real Rims on Colts 3D actually has an NF9 wheel set for it. As soon as I actually ordered this kit, I went to his website and I bought the file for the wheels. Now these are not made specifically for this kit though, so what I did was when I got them, I measured a whole bunch of things with the other wheels and I created my own perfectly scaled set. They also have a very different wheel set in here. So I measured that up and I have added my own little back in there as well. So these should sit really well in the wheels. I've kind of test fit them. They sit really well in the little mounting nubs. So I'm pretty sure these are going to be right on the money for what I'm wanting with this build. As you can see, they sit right up inside the tire. It is a little loose, so I will have to glue the tire onto the wheel. No biggie. They're kind of loose on these as well. There is a lot in this box, guys. For a curbside kit, there's an astronomical amount of resin in here. We have our seats, And if you look on the real car, there's a pattern to these seats. But it's absolutely smooth in here. In another one of these bags, you're going to find the actual seat inserts. So Alpha Models has separated the seat pattern for the inserts away from the rest of the seat so that you can paint that up different if you want. That's going to make that really, really nice, because painting seats, if you're doing like custom seat paints, it's always kind of hard to get masking tape down into all the seams and whatnot. You almost always end up with some bleeds. It's kind of difficult sometimes to get some of these seats masked off, so being able to pull those inserts out and paint them differently is going to be really cool. We have our rear diffuser. Big old honking chunk of plastic there. That is going to slot right in like that. Very nice. Now originally I thought this was like one of the door cards. It is not. This is the center console. It runs between the driver and the passenger seats, gives it kind of like this cockpit feel. There's several parts like some knobs and switches and stuff that get glued onto here. You have your front diffuser. And there is a small little lip in here that gets painted body color. And then the rest of this, I believe, is carbon fiber. So the fact that they separated that out to make that so that you can paint it separately and glue it into place, that was a really nice thought there. And of course you have the back of the interior tub. So that should drop in like this. And then just tuck up. There's a multi-part dashboard in here. There's kind of a, I think it's an airbag or something that goes in here, which they have separated out. The top is multiple pieces because there's not a windshield on this car. They have a little system in place where they've got these little panels on the top of here, and they actually create a virtual windshield. They force the wind to come up and make a pocket of air that goes over the cabin. And it's a really kind of a cool design. And they've got all those parts separated out as well. So that should be pretty fun. All right, we have another bag of small parts in here. So here you go. That's what I'm talking about with these seat inserts. So there is one part of your seats, and here is the other. So that's going to make these a lot easier to paint them up separately, get some washes in there and clean the washes out. That's just a really, really cool idea. I guess these are maybe these are parts of the door. I'm not entirely certain. I'm gonna have to go look at the suggestions and see how these doors work. I don't even know exactly what these pieces are. Now these are pretty self-explanatory. These are those huge Ferrari brakes, and these are absolutely massive. Now at the time they released the SP1 and the SP2, the difference being the SP1 is a single seat and the SP2 has the two seats. This was the most powerful V12 that Ferrari had built. It over 700 horsepower in a V12 engine. These little things here are your wheel mounting points. I don't know if these are the fronts or the rears. There's a way to tell. It's usually these marks, but as you can see, there's a slight angle. It's kind of hard to see with this yellowy resin, but there is a slight angle. They're not squares, they're more of a trapezoid type thing, and that angle corresponds with the angle here in the chassis, in that wheel well. So these will mount up in here like that, and then your wheels will actually drop inside the mounts. So you got two more here. Oh, no. This is the other one. These are your exhaust pipes. These will drop into that rear diffuser. So these are going to drop in. You got that little notch right there. Going to drop into that little slot. They're going to sit pretty much just like that. Very cool. And this is that. I don't know for certain that it's an airbag. I don't know exactly what this thing really is, but it's the part that goes up into the dashboard. All right, guys, we got one more bag of yellowy resin. We have the side skirts. These are going to drop in right here. Again, they have separated these out, which is a very well thought out process because these are, if I remember correctly, carbon fiber. So yeah, those are going to drop in just like that. These things here go into these little recesses. I don't know if this is like a vent or something. I'm not entirely certain. And then we've got some surrounds that go around the exhaust pipes. Very nice, very cleanly cast resin brakes. Hobby Design have always done really good on their brakes. Not certain what this piece is. I think this may be a part of the front hood. That little air dam system I was telling you about. There's a lot in this bag. The other brake. And these are some ridiculously tiny parts. I have no idea what these are, but they are small. So this is that air dam. These pieces are essentially going to sit like right in through here. Got your steering wheel in there. Your side mirrors. That is your center rear view mirror. Some maybe door controls. I'm not entirely certain what these are. I'm pretty sure those are door controls, but I mean they're beautifully molded. There are a ton of tiny, tiny pieces you do not want to lose. The next bag of pieces I am slightly concerned about. You have a ton of clear resin parts. But the resin itself is really, really clear. But these are going to be a challenge to work with. You absolutely don't want to break them. You've got to try and cut them off of these runners. And then you get parts like this. This is the center rear brake light. That is supposed to drop right in there. So you're going to need to get that off the sprue, get it sanded, and try to polish it up a little bit so that it's not all rough and white at the bottom, and then glue it into place without hazing it all up and making a mess of your body. These curved pieces, I don't know what these are. There's a ton of clear parts on here. a lot more than I expected. But these curved ones go into these side panels. I'm not sure which one is which. But again, you've got to get these in here after you get them all cleaned up and polished without breaking them. That is it for the parts, I believe. Next up, we have the decals. Hobby Design does a really nice carbon fiber decal. They've been kind of hard to get a hold of. Hopefully they'll be coming back out soon, especially seeing as Scale Motorsport is going out of business. Now you get a whole bunch of these colored designs here. These actually go back here. Well, this, I'm sad about this though, because you get all of these, because these go back there as well. So some of these cars will have like painted these pieces back here. I forget what they're called. I mean, I know what they're called, but I just can't for the life of me think of the word right now. But some of these will be painted on some cars, and then some of them are the body color and just have the lettering. Sometimes they have the lettering with these, just the stripes around them. Sometimes it's just the letters. And it's really cool that they give you all of these different decals and the decal layouts, but they only do the green in this. Now my colors for this are going to be, these are all Scale Finishes paints with the exception of the interior. So we've got this Ferrari Bianco Avis. Now this is supposed to be a Ferrari Pearl White. It's not the one I want. The one I want is Bianco Fuji. But I didn't want to order another paint. And if I remember correctly, Bianco Fuji is not in his list. I'm sure he could custom mix it if I got him the color code, but I don't want to buy more paint. So what I am going to do is use the Bianco Avis, but I'm going to follow that up with some of his House of Colors Snow White Pearl. I have some left over. I don't think he sells this anymore because House of Colors apparently charges a fortune for this pearl now, but this is an absolutely gorgeous pearl white. I've used it before. It is a stunning color. I did it on the, what did I use this on? I used this on the Renault Alpi A110. So at the end of the day, the white is going to look something akin to this, which is just an absolutely beautiful pearl white in my opinion. So I love the way it turned out on this car, so I'm going to turn around and I'm going to use that on this one as well. Now for my stripes, I ended up looking at two different paints. We've got Ferrari Verde Silverstone, which is kind of a bluish green. It's a very, very dark green. And this was the color I originally was planning on using. When I got it, it didn't really look like it did in the pictures on the internet. This is the paint that I went to and I checked out the Ferrari dealership and they said this was spot on for these colors. So just the internet looks weird. It makes them look greener than that color actually is. So I opted for Ferrari Verde Scuro instead. So this is what I'm going to be doing my stripes in. One paint that is not from Scale Finishes, Zero Paints did a line of Ferrari leather colors. They are hit and miss. The colors sometimes do not look like Ferrari's colors. And I've had 3 bottles of the Ferrari beige. All 3 bottles look a different color from each other. So mixing is kind of sketchy. Another thing is that with these paints, I think they went back to the glass bottles finally, but for a while they used these plastic things and they do not seal well. They've just got a small piece of cardboard in here and then it's just plastic. So you periodically have to go in and just add some lacquer thinner in there and just rehydrate the paint a little bit. But this is what I'm thinking of using for my interior. I think this dark brown with that really light white car, that silvery white pearl car and the green, I think that's going to look really good together. So, back to the decals. So there's page 1 of the decal sheets. And so they have these in green here. They don't have that green anywhere else, which makes me kind of sad. They give you this kind of waxy paper between the decals to help protect them. That is a really good idea. We have lots of signal markers, I believe, as well as lots more of these stripes. So these stripes are for going across the front of the car. So these would go across like that, where these stripes go long ways up the car. And this design is called the lipstick stripe. It actually goes around this bit here, and then it comes up and goes straight up the center. Now, I'm not a fan of that design, so I am going to paint my stripes like I almost always do. Then you get one more sheet, and these are all carbon fiber. There is so much carbon on this car. It is not funny. Now, unlike Mike's recent build with the P1, all of it is templated already, so you don't have to sit there and make templates. They already have the decals. I'm trying to steel my nerves on doing all of this carbon because, oh my lord, that is a lot. So we do have the 4 screws that go to screw your chassis into the body. And then these are seat belts, which we may use these, or I may go with a harness setup. I'm trying to decide what I want to do. And then you get into the photo etch. Photo etch sheet 1. You've got your pedals in here. Your flappy paddles for your steering wheel. So much photo etch. But the patterning, I mean, it's beautifully done. Let's see if we can really zoom in on those floor mats, because those are floor mats. And that's just absolutely beautiful. No idea what these are, but more pedals. Sheet number 2, you have your brake rotors, which is interesting because these are actually carbon ceramic brakes, so you're going to end up having to paint these anyhow. You do have a mesh. It looks like they give you 2 copies of the mesh for the grille. I don't know if that's just a spare or what. We'll have to look into that. Some side mirrors, nice license plates. And then this last little sheet of photo etch. It's double protective coated. It's coated on each side, and I don't really want to take the coating off because those are not, there are no actual fret nubs. These are just held on by adhesive. But you have the backing for your gauges, seatbelt hardware, there's tons of stuff, parts for the brakes, rear Ferrari script, I'm pretty sure that's what that is, tons of photo etch. While putting things away, I found there's another photo etch sheet with more seatbelt hardware and more Ferrari Cavallino ponies. So, yeah, that's in there too. There are a couple of clear parts in here. Apparently there is like a sort of small piece of glass that may be on like some versions of this car. So they give you some acetate to do that with. We'll see. Alright, so that is going to be a wrap for this video. I know this one is probably going to be long. I have not edited it yet, so I don't know how long it's going to be. But I just finished recording the raw footage for going through just the box, and That's over a half an hour. It's insane how much is in that box, especially for this being a curbside kit. This is not a sponsored video. Alpha Models did not send me that kit. They send a lot of guys free kits. I reached out to them. They gave me a "we'll let you know" and never spoke to me again. It is what it is. So I did pay out of pocket for this kit. So of course you are going to get my absolute honest opinions. That's the upside. I'm not beholden to anybody. And these are not cheap. I know there's going to be some guy down in here, like probably the moment the intro is over, some guy's going to be down there, "These are too expensive for what you get." Frank calls those guys neckbeards. And they're everywhere. So yes, these are expensive kits. They tend to run somewhere between about $150 to $180 for their kits. These are hobbyists like us making kits. This is not a massive corporation like Tamiya churning out, 100,000 kits a year. These guys are doing old school cast resin. It is meticulous, as you saw in there. Photo etch. These guys are making photo etch. The decal sheets, they look like they could be a little bit thick, but it's not like they're running these off on an inkjet printer on a huge sheet. Those are legit decals on a commercial printer. They're die cut. They're legitimate decals. These guys are making kits, and they're doing it small batch, so there's a lot that goes into making these kits. So when you look at that and you look at the $160 is too much to spend for what you're getting and what they're doing, it is what it is. So it has been a while since I've done a build series video. I don't know what I'm doing with these resin kits, other than I know I've got to wash them because I know they use mold release. And I know I have to use CA glue because you can't use Tamiya on any of this. That's pretty much the extent of my knowledge on building these resin kits. I've never done one before, so you're going to be following me along for the ride. I am going to try to do this as a build series. Typically when I'm doing the buddy builds, I just do updates. But one, like I said, it's a resin kit that I've never done before. And looking around, I don't think anyone has done a build series on this particular Alpha model kit. I went looking. I've seen kind of some unboxings. There's a couple of unboxings. Mike, who I'm doing this buddy build with, check out Mike. His link will be down in that description below. Mike did a fantastic unboxing, and he did it for me when he got the kit long before I got mine. But I haven't seen much of anything else on the YouTubes for it, so I am going to endeavor to do this as a full build series kit. I know you guys like the build series. I don't tend to have a lot of time for editing right now. I work 50-hour work weeks, and then it's an hour and a half to 2 hours one-way commute. So my first 13 to 14 hours of every day is dedicated to work. But I am going to make an effort to do a build series of this. We're going to start this year off right. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I always appreciate you watching the videos. Check the description below. Like I said, there's going to be a link for Mike's Miniature Motors. My buddy is doing the buddy build with me. I got to meet Mike recently when I went down to San Antonio. I met him and his wife. Absolutely fantastic people. I am super excited to be doing this buddy build with him. There's also going to be a link down there for scale finishes and a discount code for 10% off your order. It was very kind of Jameson to give us that discount code. All the paints, with the exception of that Zero Paints Brown, are going to be down there available to you. He's got his own version of interior paints, and they are fantastic as well. I've got a couple of them, so check him out. And as always, guys, I will catch you on the next one.